Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at Garum, which is a 2 to 4 player board game designed by Ricardo Jorge Gomez and published by Pythagoras. This game accommodates 2 to 4 players and takes 30 to 40 minutes to play. So despite this amazingly compelling cover here and the theme about making fish sauce, this game is actually an abstract strategy game with tile placement and area control. So the board is going to look like this, where you have all these different bowls here, divided into 4 different sections, and some of these sections also have little symbols on, which I'll kind of explain the reasoning behind that later. You've also got all these different notches around the bowls here on the vertical and horizontal axes. Each player is going to have their own bunch of pieces, which is going to consist of a stack of tiles. You're going to have 4 of those tiles in your hand at any time. You've got a little scoring reference here. And you've got a bunch of meeples, one of which is slightly bigger than the others, which can affect scoring quite significantly. So this game is ultra straightforward. So the first thing you're going to do is you are going to draw a coin off the top of the stack here, which is going to show which bowl is going to be in play this round. So this one says 16 on it, therefore we'll be playing tiles in the 16th bowl. So the first player is going to take one of the tiles from their hand, and then they're going to place it into that bowl in any of the 4 sections. So let's just say, for example, I played this one here. I can put it in any of these bowls in any orientation that I like, and if I ever cover one of these symbols, then I'm going to get an additional point. And if I ever cover one of these symbols precisely, so let's say I did that one, in a future round where 5 came up, I would get 2 points. But we're playing in this bowl at the moment, so let's just say I do this like so. And now, after I place a tile, I'll have the option to place a worker onto any kind of orientation that affects this tile. So I could put it here, I could put it here, or I could put it here or here, because they cross through this tile. And the reason I want to do that is because at the end of the game, wherever I have a worker, I'm going to score a number of points depending on how many of my tiles or how many of my symbols are in that row or column. So at the moment, in this vertical axis, I've only got 2 of my symbols. Therefore, I'd refer to my sheet here and have a look at what that's going to score me. So at the moment, that's not going to score me anything, and in fact, it's going to score me negative points. But if I ever get above 4 symbols in a row or column, then I'm going to start gaining points. And these do work kind of in the future as well. So if I place one now, I can actually think about building more and more symbols in that row or column, which is going to affect my scoring, because all scoring is done at the end of the game. You don't score immediately. So claiming these spots is kind of a push your luck style mechanism, where you want to claim and kind of bet on yourself of getting loads of symbols in that row or column. But of course, you want to get there before the other people do, because they could actually block you out. And once I've placed my tile, I'm going to have to draw back up to 4 tiles to replenish my hand. And then I'll go on to the next player. So let's just say the blue player goes next, and they're trying to do the same thing as me. I'm obviously trying not to help me, because as you can see, all the tiles here will often affect other players. So if I was to put this tile like this, then I'm just going to help the other player in this row. Whereas I might try and stop doing that. So let's just say the blue player played like that, and then the red player would go. Let's just draw one out at random here. They just not think about it too much. They put it like this, and then the green player will finally put their tile. Again, not only trying to help themselves, but trying not to help other people as well. So that's literally going to be what a round is going to consist of in a 4-player game. You're going to keep doing that again and again until you go through all these tiles and all the regions will be filled up. So once all the tiles have been placed on the board, it's going to go into endgame scoring, and the board is going to look something like this, where all the tiles and all the bowls are put on the board and filled up, and you're going to have a bunch of the meeples on the outside areas here, ready to claim those points. So then you're going to calculate the points depending on how many symbols of your colour in your rows and columns, depending on where your meeples are. So let's just use some, for example, scoring here. So let's just say this column here for the blue player is quite a good one. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 symbols. And the little meeple, so you'd be having a look at your little track here. So you've got 6, and it's a small meeple, therefore you'd only get 2 points. So you can probably tell you want to get as many symbols as you can, because the points do jump up by quite a bit. So for example, the green player here has done quite well in this particular row, where they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 8 symbols down, and they've actually managed to place their big meeple there. Therefore, they would get a massive 14 points. So the points do jump up quite significantly, but of course, as the game developed, people were trying to kind of nullify your ability to do that and make sure they put different symbols in your rows and columns where you've already placed your meeples. So it's a very straightforward game, but everything does affect what each player does. And it's quite puzzly in that respect. So I do like the way this game is broken down into 3 very simple phases. Of course, the first of which is just putting the tile on the board. The second of which is the option of putting one of these meeples on the outside. And I do like that mechanism of, do you want to go in early and try and claim where you're looking good early, but be aware that the other people are going to start gunning for you and then start trying to sabotage that line or column, or do you want to wait until it's a bit more of a safe bet where you've got loads of symbols in that row or column and then claim it to make sure you bank those points? But of course, people may be trying to block you from doing that. Additionally, you can actually place a meeple in a row or column once the third of a row or column's bowls are filled up. So you are under a bit of pressure to get your meeples down, which does of course increase the probability of you suffering negative points by not reaching that 4 or above 4 threshold. So I do like that system. I think it's really cool. And you just replenish up and always have a hand of 4 tiles. So I do like the fact that this does have a good amount of kind of hand management. That does somewhat tunnel vision on what you can do, because you can't just pick and choose the tiles you want to place on the board. And of course, some of these tiles are really, really good. So for example, here you've got these these ones where the whole tile is all made up of your symbols, and you only have one of those to play throughout the game. So you really need to know when to place that one. And of course, you want to place it where you're affecting as many of your meeples as possible at those crosshairs. So I think it's quite a clever game. It's ultra simple, and you can probably tell that this almost has a throwback style feel to it, where it doesn't have any bloat to the game. It really is trimmed back, very streamlined, without any fiddliness or any confusing rules minutia. This game has a tremendous flow to it, and it does accurately play in about 30 to 40 minutes, which I think is fantastic. I think the ratio to decisions here and the fun factor are really amplified because it does play so quickly. I was remarkably surprised about how quickly this one did pass by, and before you know it, the whole board is filled up, which is really quite exciting. So I do like the fact that this is really funneled into a nice tight time frame to keep players engaged from start to finish. And on top of that as well, the actual players' turns aren't too confusing. You are just restricted to one bowl at a time. Therefore, you are really the whole maybe potential of getting analysis paralysis is completely nullified. So I do like that, and you are constantly involved in this game and thinking about what other people do, and even on other people's turns they might be inadvertently helping you, which you're kind of excited about. So I really do like that, and that kind of ties hands with the player interaction in this one. I do love the way that each of the players' pieces has other players' symbols on as well. So whether it's deliberately or indirectly, you are affecting other people's rows and columns, and that's really fascinating, and I love the way that works, and it's just completely unavoidable. Additionally, the aesthetics of the game is nice and clear. The symbology, you can't get them confused at all. I'm colourblind and I can see what all the different symbols are. I like the fact that all the colours really do pop. There's no confusion about which rows and columns your things go on, and I just think altogether it's a nice production package. And I've got no complaints about the production whatsoever. I mean, even the components themselves are nice, high quality. The tiles are really good and strong. The meeples are your basic meeples, but nice wooden meeples are great. So I've got no complaints whatsoever. And there's not too many components in this game. Just the tiles each, your meeples, and a scoring board each. But that's just perfectly fine for me. I think it's really well produced. Theme, of course, this has no theme whatsoever. This is an abstract strategy game. The actual choice of the theming and setting is a bit strange, but I don't dislike it. It's got quite a catchy name, I suppose, Garum, and the whole fish sauce thing is just completely not even skin deep. It really is a veneer on this game, and it doesn't have any kind of tangible connections to the mechanisms or anything, which is perfectly fine for me. I do really like the progression of this game, and it does really ramp up in its excitement as the more and more of these bowls are filling up, and you can really see the opportunity and potential of getting those higher player scores, or the higher scores of getting more symbols in the rows. And when you start hitting that 9 and then you smash your big worker down, it's absolutely great. So yeah, I do like the scoring amplifying here as well. And you're not going to just do it, you're not going to get loads and loads of points each time. Sometimes you are really going to cut it close to potentially losing points, because because the competition is so tight for these outer notches. So yeah, it's got a great kind of balancing and a great pacing, and that tension of getting your workers down and knowing when to put them down is really good. Something that needs to be talked about is the scalability of this game. So at 4 players, you can imagine how this will play. Everyone's got their own colour. However, regardless of the player count, you do play with all the tiles. So if you play a 2-player game, then you take control of 2 colours each. And if you play a 3-player game, then the first player, whoever's first player for the round, will draw a tile off the unused players and place it in that bowl, which I think is actually quite a nice way to scale the game. It does work well, and you can use that to your advantage and try to hinder other players as well. However, there is a bit of swinginess to that. When if you draw a particularly good tile that will help you, then that can actually make quite a big difference to the outcome. But I do think it's a nice streamlined way to scale the game. But optimally, you want to be playing this game at 4 to get the most out of it. So overall, for me, Garum was a nice, pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting loads and loads out of this game. It's pretty simple about what this was going to achieve and what it was going for. However, despite being a 2019 game, this does have a nice throwback feel to it. It's clean in its mechanisms. It does have a lot of fun to be had. It does offer a lot of fun because, again, whatever you do, you are either helping or hindering other people. And it all goes back to that tension on when you're going to claim these rows and columns. And I think just how clean it is in terms of just placing a tile, potentially claiming a spot, and then drawing a tile. You can really play this with absolutely anybody. I like the fact that you are always limited to a hand of 4 tiles. Yes, sometimes you're not left with the best tiles at the best times, and other people might fall into the favour of other people. But for me, that's not really an issue. It does suit the game. It suits the flow of the game, and it just feels right. And it ticks along so quickly. And on top of that, I really do love the fact that these bowls do come out in a random order. And that can really change the feel of the game. Sometimes the bowl will be up here, then it'll be down here, and then when they start linking together and you start realising how lucrative some of these rows and columns are to you, that's when the real satisfaction starts coming into the game. And I love that. It's really enjoyable. And is it going to stand up in years and years to come? Am I going to still be urging to play this one? Maybe not. But for now, I'm enjoying it. I think this is a certainly above average game, in fact, way above average game. And I'm actually pleasantly surprised by it. And I'm certainly going to play it more and more. And I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of fun out of this game. So despite its dry and bland appearance, this is a game that I'd recommend. And I think this is a bit of a hidden gem. So that is Garum. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you found it useful or at least somewhat entertaining, then please hit like and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Additionally, if you wish to support the show, because I am a one-man operation and I don't get any support from publishers, then please consider backing on Patreon at patreon.com/chairman of the board, where you can back for as little as £2 per month. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.